Hello and welcome back to another episode of Swinging at Shins, your Premier League podcast stateside. Your hosts today, Aaron and Woodsy. Woodsy, how are you doing?
What's up, buddy? Another day in paradise. One trophy under the belt already. So can't complain at the moment. So
That's true. Fair enough. For those who are new, Woodsy is a Liverpool fan. And for those who are not new, we did discuss last week about the Carabao Cup. So that is the trophy he is referring to in this particular manner. The Liverpool fans, I'm sure, are excited that the quadruple is on this year, much like it was in 19, I believe, right?
yeah, no, it was actually 2 years ago. It was the
Is it
21,
really?
22 season. Yeah,
Damn.
yeah,
Honestly, from COVID, so late to 2020. No, wait, sorry, 2020 into now, it's been like 2 years. I don't know where it's gone. I can't tell the difference.
True. That's true. I mean, the only difference now is Virgil van Dijk is playing kindergarten cop basically to try to win these trophies this time instead of having Mane and Firmino and all those guys that we're normally used to. Now it's we got kids that were when Klopp joined, they were 6 years old on the bench.
Yeah,
So it's kind of weird how full circle it's come.
they are a bunch of youngsters out there, so good for them for pulling that off. On today's podcast, we will do a scores rundown of Matchday 27. We will talk about the missed call, alleged. Well, it's not alleged. It is a missed call, but the why is it such a significance? Why it feels like there's so much more weight to it. We'll talk a little bit about the Manchester Derby because that happened and it sort of turned out kind of how we thought it would, but not as bad. And then we'll preview Liverpool and Man City. It is a 1-2, so it should be pretty exciting for this weekend. I do want to clarify in the last couple podcasts, we did talk about blue cards and the UCL spot. The UCL spot for the 5th spot isn't effective until next season. So teams still have to play for that 4th spot. They won't get that 5th position, and the 5th position will still be Europa League qualification. Or is it qualification or is it an automatic bid? Either way, it'll be Europa.
You're right. Fifth is automatic. 6th is some sort of like weird qualifications,
and then 7th is qualifications into
Conference League,
European Conference. So, and then on top of that, the blue cards were just effectively shut down. FIFA was just like, no, we got so much backlash. We don't want to deal with this. We've already got like terrible refs all around, or how we perceive refs as terrible. But they're like, why would we stack this other card on top of them? So,
like basically, I mean, you got these guys that we're literally about to go into a conversation about referees, and they can't even do yellows and red cards appropriately. Let's give them another card. That sounds like a genius idea, So
that's
I'm glad it's got something on. Like, thank God.
That's what Rhett and I discussed about. It's like it's another card on top of, the red and yellow that we currently have. And Rhett always backs this with, if they wouldn't need a blue card if they just use the yellow card appropriately.
Yep.
There's, there already is a caution out there that leads to another caution and then a red. So stop giving us other cards that we need. We don't need this sin bin hockey style. I think it's a neat idea in practice, in theory, in theory, but much like communism, it's all good in theory. Let's go with the rundown for match day 27. We got kicked off with Brentford and Chelsea. They ended up 2-2. Johan Wissa, did you see that goal?
Hell of a goal.
Scissor kick over. Oh my goodness! He queued up like 3 of those shots during that match before that shot went in. But it was sexy. I'll tell you what. I couldn't ask for a better. It was like, which one's better though? Garnacho or Wissa's?
I'm going Garnacho just because of
Same.
the difficulty. I think is a little bit higher on that one.
Agreed. It was straight off of a cross where
Yeah,
Wisa's was kind of like bundled up to him by Tony. I don't know. Oh no, it was Onyeka, I think.
yeah. It was one of the Brentford
It
players
wasn't
kind
Tony. I
of
think it was Onyeka.
was Onyeka.
But
Yeah, the
um,
Garnachos. I mean, as much as I would love to hate on Manchester United today, which I think we might a little bit later.
yeah,
I do think that Garnacho. I mean, he's gonna win goal this season. I don't think that's even questionable. But I just think the difficulty in that. I mean, the only easy part about his goal was the fact that there was like basically no goalkeeper there when you consider Pickford was in goal. I mean, it's kind of like having no goalkeeper. If you just hit the
yeah.
corners, you're gonna score. I mean, the guy's got dynasty. They call him T-Rex for a reason. Like
Mm.
he's not the greatest goalkeeper, but apparently he's England's number one. Good luck in the Euros, England. You're gonna need it.
Who else do they really have personally? Joe Hart just retired. You can't call on him.
Nick Pope.
I do
number
like
one.
Pope. I do like Pope. And Aaron Ramsdale is a backup who's out of form. So who you're really going to throw? Well,
Squad,
Pope's injured this year, so he's got that shoulder injury, dislocated his shoulder or something like that.
Yeah, they said I think mid to late April. I'd have to look that up again.
Anyway, we don't really need to worry about that. That's Newcastle's problem. Moving on, Everton lose 1-3 against West Ham. West Ham finally getting back in their top 10 form groove here after dropping quite a few goals against Man United and Arsenal. I think that's 2 in a row for them. I would say, they're a top 10 lock personally, and more woes are stacked on to Everton. I know you won't really care because obviously Derby and hometown hateness right there, but I don't know. Everton really didn't look like they were up for this match personally, and it showed in the scoreline.
Tale of two halves. I think that game really. I thought actually West Ham played pretty well both halves. It just came together a little bit better in the second half.
Yeah.
Jared Bowen. I mean, damn dude, like he is a stud of a winger, and can play inside too when asked.
Yep.
Heck of a player Jared Bowen is. Everton, they're so hit or miss, and again it does come back to the things that they're good at. They need things to kind of fall into place a little bit. They're very good at set pieces, and that's really it. I mean, the counter, they're kind of meh. They're hit or miss. They'll get those chances, but they won't finish them. So you look at how they're going to try to get these points. They might have another deduction coming up in the next month or two. How are they going to get these points? You got to think they've probably got to win about half their games left in order to guarantee that they stay up with another point deduction coming. So let's see if they can do that. I don't think they will, but they're the hit or miss team right now as Everton.
I agree. Even they're throwing out Beto instead of Dominic Calvert-Lewin for starting lineups right now, and Beto had an opportunity to put them ahead just before halftime, and Areola just made a really great save, honestly, to keep it 0-0 at that point. So
Ariel's best game as a West Ham player, in my opinion. I went back and watched that game.
I think that's safe to say.
I would say that was easily his best game as a West Ham player. And to be honest with you, I think he's finally got a home per se. He's one of those guys that when at PSG wasn't the number one, back and forth. They had brought in other guys that were supposedly better than him, and they looked a lot into him at PSG, and now I think he's finally got a place where, and a coach, as much as West Ham fans probably may or may not want him, I think he's finally got a coach that believes in him. He's the number one, set number one. Fabianski number two. He's your goalkeeper. I think he's finally settled and comfortable at West Ham.
It certainly seems that way. Fulham and Brighton. Fulham win 3-0 at home. This one was honestly surprising due to the fact of Danny Welbeck being on the bench. They had a number of players. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head right now, but I don't quite remember. I don't have the page up for it, but I know they ran out with a four center backs in that match. And then their wing back. It was the weirdest thing ever. Like they had Dunk, they had Webster, they had Van Hecken, and then another center back there.
Is it Jesus? Juan Jesus?
No, hold on. I got it right here. I'm a dummy.
Igor? I think it's
Veltman.
Igor.
They had Veltman, Webster, Dunk, Van Hecke,
wow.
And yep, that's it right there. But they're when I look at this page right now, it kind of looks similar to what they're trying to do with what City's trying to do with Stones, and use that other center back to drop in as an anchor if they need, or use him up top, or use him as like a like a heading prospect kind of deal, or more of like honestly just like an anchor to be able to let Estupiñán and Tyreek Lamptey be able to run down the flanks.
I'll be honest. They are not the same team, I think, going forward without Estupiñán, without Pedro, Ferguson, even though he did play that game. Mitoma as well. They are not the same going forward.
Yeah.
Even with Julio and Ciso coming back, and I think he's still trying to get his feet underneath him and get his legs right. They are not the same team they were 3-4 weeks ago. I don't see what De Zerbi's trying to do. Tactically speaking, I know he's implementing a lot of young guys over the last month or so, but and that's worked out to their benefit, no doubt. But the last two games, when they played against, I think they had Wolves, I believe it was in the FA Cup, they looked lost. They looked absolutely lost. Like they didn't have any sense of what to do once they got the ball back. They fight and they get the ball back, and once they got the ball, it was a whole lot of nothing. Defensively, I still think they're just a bit short, but man, they are. I think they're really, and maybe this is me, I think they're really focusing on Europa League and seeing how far they can get in that one. I don't know how exactly they're going to be, going up against the likes of Liverpool and Arsenal, and they might even have Man City, I think, in the last stretch of the season. They could be one of those teams that's like, all right, let's just focus on one competition, which is what they normally, would have done if they weren't in Europa League and FA Cup and all that stuff. So I'm interested to watch what De Zerbi does over the next couple months.
I agree with the statement that they're focusing. I think they're focusing on one side, and it definitely hurts that they lost Mitoma with that ball carrying ability and being able to get touches in the box through Mitoma. And Ciso looked lively. He looked like the one player on that team that really wanted to make a difference in that squad. So as long as they can keep him healthy.
Yeah,
you're
right.
I think he's a couple games away personally. They only ran him out for a half, and he looked good for a half, and I think that's safe for playing it. They're playing it safe, which makes sense for me. They ran out Ansu Fati as well, so he's getting some minutes. So I guess he'll probably come back. I'm assuming he's starting to get his legs under him as well. We'll see what happens. I mean, honestly, maybe the goalkeeping ability from Van Bruggen and Jason Steele are catching up with them. I don't know, but we'll see what they want to focus on the most and go from there. Because I mean, if they win, well, I don't know if they're going to win necessarily Europa, but if they keep going through, they're going to keep getting money, accruing money through TV deals and just tournament money in general. Funds, that is the word I wanted to use, tournament funds. And if they do happen to win, then they go into qualifying for Champions League. So, it's an option for them. They have different avenues to get into Champions League if they can. The next one. I just lost all of my stuff. There we go. Here we go. It is now. We're moving on to Newcastle. I actually did not watch this match. Sorry, guys. I don't have any highlights for you because it was Newcastle and Wolves, and Newcastle did the job that they needed to against Wolves and won 3-0. Forest and Liverpool, we'll discuss that one, but Forest lost in the 99th minute against Liverpool with Darwin Nunez's header. It ended up being a 0-1 victory for them. Spurs and Crystal Palace, this was kind of a pillow fight for most of the match until Eze hit that gorgeous free kick, and then Spurs woke up and put 3. It was 3 goals in 15 minutes, and you're like, well, that's kind of how I felt this match would go anyway.
Yeah, that was one of the weirdest matches. That was on at the same time as the Liverpool match, and I'm keeping my eye on that one because I'm like, all 3 teams in the title race have to play Spurs at some point. So I'm trying to keep my eye on Spurs so I can see how they're playing. And as they hit that kick, and my goodness, how that dude is still on Palace. I'm gonna say I think him and Elise are both gone this summer. I think
it's
they're
really not a far stretch. It's really not a far stretch.
A lot of people saying you got to at least keep one of them. Can you? I think Elise is a shoe-in to go. Can you keep Eze? I really don't think so. So, but yeah, Spurs. The last few minutes there, very, very good response to that free kick.
Yep, definitely. Ange lit a fire and said, "Hey, we need to score," and they did. They certainly went out and scored. Luton Town at home do a very good job of losing again by 1 goal. They lost 2-3 against Villa. Villa ended up scoring a 89th, 88th header from Luke Dean. The Frenchies combined with, his name, Diaby. There we go. His name just fell out of my head. He's been coming off the bench, so I kind of forget he's there every now and then. But, that was a well-timed cross to a well-timed head to put it in the back of the net and grind out a win, and a much-needed win for Aston Villa to keep that gap between Spurs and themselves. Again, Luton Town having a tough time. I think it's like 5-6 matches where at home where they've lost. It might be more. I don't have the numbers up right now, but where they've lost by 1 goal at home. It's got to be so deflating. Even if they were to draw half of those, or pull out a win in every 3, they get at least, 6 points, and they're out of the relegation zone. And it's just like, it's got to be so deflating for fans and players alike when you get to that point and you get to like the 90th minute and you're like, you just hold your breath. And it's a neat place to watch too. Just watch them while they're up. I hope they stay up. I don't think they will, but like, they're probably one of the most fun fan bases to watch.
Yeah, they can be a pretty rad. It's a nice looking stadium, to be honest. It's one of those cool little stadiums that you're watching a game, you don't think your team would actually end up visiting because they're most likely in League 1 or League 2. It's a pretty nice stadium. The reactions I've seen from their fans have been hit or miss. Some really good, some really ugly. So, they've been one of those teams that are very gritty and their fans are kind of the same way as well. So, I can see them staying up. I think it's going to be to the demise of one of the teams that gets a point deduction if they do. I don't think it'll be really by Luton Town's doing. I don't think they're going to be staying up themselves. I think it's going to be something that they just kind of back into. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Luton Town have the opportunity to possibly stay up, whether it's point deductions that get them there or just overall everybody else around them happen to play worse and they happen to catch a run of games where they stay up. On Sunday's matches, we had Burnley lose 0-2 against Bournemouth. I actually also didn't get to watch this game.
Actually, that's the only one I watched. Actually, I missed the majority of the derby. So
no kidding. How'd
game
that
was
one go?
well, I'm working on my basement, so I got a lot of stuff going on. So I missed the big game, but I'll tell you, man, Bournemouth, they're gritty. They are gritty. One of those teams that are they're gonna sneak some high quality wins out of somebody at the end of the year here. I believe they do end up playing Arsenal. I think they also play City. But they're going to be one of those teams that could surprise somebody at the end of the year. I think they'll be a top 10 team in my opinion. They're that good by the end of the year. They're that good. They're better than Chelsea. Solanke's playing really well. Kluivert's gotten into a groove recently. I've been saying it for the last year. I think Kirkez is one of the most underrated young fullbacks, I think, in Europe as is. So he's playing really well. Alex Scott again,
dude, so good.
The dude is quality.
Love
the
him.
dude is quality. I mean, he may not get the recognition that a lot of people give him, but he is a quality Premier League midfielder playing for a team at Brighton, where I don't think he's getting the best out of him yet, but I think he is going to eventually make a move to a bigger club and get a little bit more out of this game. And then lastly, what did I say? Brentford?
Brighton, the other one.
Right.
You were in the ballpark.
I was also right. Begins with a B. No, definitely. I think he's going to end up getting out of there, and I think the overall organization from Andoni's teams over the last month or so have been 10 times better. I mean, they took City to the brink almost. They've come up to against pretty decent, good opponents and taken them pretty far. They're a better squad than I think a lot of people think when they think of Bournemouth. So they're one of the teams I like actually enjoy watching.
So here's the trick with Bournemouth, right? Wolves are doing better than Bournemouth right now, and they have Gary O'Neill. And for those who don't know, Gary O'Neill was sacked by Bournemouth at the end of the season and went out and got Areola, I think is how you pronounce his last name. And, immediately they didn't see the thing. What's that? Is it Ariel?
No, you're good. You're good.
That's okay.
Anyway, you're Iola. It's a weird one.
Yep, you gotta say all of the vowels. And
they're all confusing.
In there. Yeah, they're all in there, all right. And I'm not gonna pronounce every letter, so it is what it is. The confusing part for fans is that Wolves are ahead of Bournemouth, and that it seems like Bournemouth have not produced the way they thought they were going to, but that's what's going to happen when you have a new coach and you bring in all these players like Alex Scott, like Kirkez, and like Max Aarons, who hasn't really gotten a lot of field time. They also have Tyler Adams, guys. There's a lot of quality players who they went and signed and just haven't been able to get it to meld until December, when they finally ripped off like a bunch of games and quality games for that matter. And, their last 5 fixtures for Bournemouth are Villa, Brighton, Arsenal, Brentford, and Chelsea. So there are some places where they could get some high quality wins for them and possibly upset the top a little bit. So we'll see what happens. It's still quite a ways away as we speak. It's only match day 27, and I gave 33. Yep, 33 through 38. Next match is the Manchester Derby, where Man City become victorious and win another derby because they're just better than literally most of the league here. And they win 3-1. That being said, Man United did hold most of this, did have the opening goal scorer, but we'll discuss a little bit more on that in a moment. And the final match, which I don't think many people needed to watch because it went exactly how everybody thought it was going to. And Sheffield United put up a goose egg against Arsenal's 6th spot. pretty sure they had put up. Let me see. Sorry, guys. I know I'm really all over the place. Here we go. That's what I wanted to see. Yeah, they put up 5 of those goals in the first half, and just sleeper hold on Sheffield United, and knocked them out. Didn't even give them a kiss in bed. They just said goodbye.
It was so bad. Chris Wilder couldn't even count the amount of sandwiches the referees were eating during the game.
Jesus.
I don't know if you remember that, but he's an awful Premier League manager, and I love that he every time he uses a sub now, I think of what Jurgen Klopp said about him, and when he was kind of bitching about the switch from 3 to 5 subs, and how Klopp was saying, well, you're in last place, maybe you need 5 subs instead. So the guy just seems to keep shooting himself in the foot with things he says and does, and his team don't really respond to pretty much anything.
No.
So against Sheffield United, we'll see in 2 or 3 years when you come back up anyway.
It's most likely true. I will say initially I did not like. What's that?
I don't even think they were trying to really stay up. I don't think there was a chance in hell that when they sold their three or 4 best players that they were even thinking about staying up, and they even wanted to stay up. So I think right then and there, I mean, that's your answer to what their goal was at the beginning of the season.
It was always going to be tough for them, and I personally, when I put out the predictions, I really regret putting them as high as I did and put a lot more faith in than I thought. I really, didn't think anything through with that one. I was going off of previous success that they had the first time that they came up, but there was absolutely no success right now, and they're sitting with 13 points. And what was it? I don't have the table up.
They're gonna get to a negative 100 goals.
That's what I was just about to look at. I knew it was a very high number, and they're currently sitting at negative 50. They have scored 22 goals to giving up 72. Not good. Not going to stay in the
come to Anfield, so there's at least 5 right there.
Plus the 6 that just got put on right there. It's not great for them, but what also isn't great is this no call, missed call. It's not a no call. It got called. But it's definitely a missed call in this Liverpool match, which I won't say directly led to Liverpool winning, but it was a somewhat factor into Liverpool winning. And to be honest, I think a lot of people, the only reason they were throwing up, oh, this is such a major miss, we should do replays, blah, blah, blah. It's only a major thing because, 1, Liverpool are in a title race, and 2, Forest are in a relegation race. I don't know if you really want to call a race for relegation, but that's what they're in. And they might get points docked off of them at the end of the season. So there was a lot of tension. There is a lot of tension within those fan bases that had happened. And the only other people that really are affected by this are Arsenal and Man City, who are chasing Liverpool. So if they had threw up a draw, I think City would be sitting in first, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So there was some real.
City first, and Liverpool would actually be.
There are some actually they'd be in third too. No, they wouldn't. That's not how that math works. Oh wait.
Yeah, they would.
That's how that math works. Because they are ahead by Arsenal are not they. Arsenal are ahead on goal differential. They lead the league in goal differential right now, which is not something really said very often. I'm not saying that Arsenal won't chuck up those numbers. It's usually City who's holding that sort of prowess. Anyway, Yeah, I think that this no call, not call, but given to Liverpool is just kind of, if this happened in the 50th minute, it happens. But it happened with such high stakes and ramifications that it is a major miss. I don't know how
Aaron,
do you feel?
I have news for you. I have news for you. It actually did happen around the 50th minute. The
No.
other way. The other way. It literally happened. Harvey Elliott took a shot on goal. It hit a player in the head. Went out for a corner.
Yes.
What did Tierney do? He gave a goal kick. He gave a goal kick to Nottingham Forest. So one, it did happen the other way around. So he was consistent, with his calls. Consistently shit, but he's consistent with his calls. So I give them that. There's a lot of weird interpretations of this rule, and I know either way I'm going to put it, I'm not going to get it right. Usually I try to understand what exactly is going on in the referee's head. This one I don't understand what exactly he's trying to call here, because there's a lot of different things. One, you look where the ball is when the play is finally stopped. It's obviously in possession of Nottingham Forest. However, this whole thing was preceded by a high boot that connected with Kanate. If you've seen the images, if you haven't, Kanate was kicked in the side of the head,
I thought it was a shoulder.
And if he wasn't kicked, it was a shoulder.
I thought Kelleher
so either way,
hit him.
I mean, it's a foul. It should be.
I thought it was
Liverpool ball in the area.
I thought Kelleher hit him in the head, which refs have to stop because it's a head injury. They have to make sure that it's okay. Yeah, that's how I saw it. I saw as Kelleher hit him in. I don't mean to trample over you, but I'm sorry about that. Kelleher hit him in the head with his shoulder, and he went down and grabbed his head, and Callum Hudson-Odoi at that point has possession of the ball. So with that rule in play, it should have gone to the player in possession, which was Forrest. Now, I think Gary O'Neill says it best. It's like, and I don't say this a lot about Gary O'Neill, but who's to say that Liverpool weren't going to go down and score anyway? It was also a minute and a half away from when the scoring happened. And Forrest had two opportunities to clear the ball out of their box and didn't have it. Excuse me, didn't take those opportunities and gave up the goal. And it was a good cross from McAllister to Darwin Nunez. So really, Forrest,
he was my man first.
Forrest shot themselves in the foot on that end at that occasion. Could have the possession of that drop ball been a opportunity in which Forrest could have milked out the clock? Maybe. I can't say because I don't live in that universe right now. So it could have ended up a draw. Are you looking up the?
So actually, I just sent you the kick to the head of Kanate. So it looks like it's either a kick or an elbow. Either way, it looks like an impact from one side into Kelleher. That's what at least it looks like for me. Given all that, there's three chances, three clearances basically that happen after that. The next possession is literally a ball out of play in Liverpool's half. So the next, basically change of I'm not gonna say change of possession, but stoppage in play is basically a throw-in. So there's that. I mean, I don't think it directly involved in the goal. I don't think so. I don't think that's even the case. I mean, and to be honest with you, people saying, "Oh, Tierney this, Tierney that," about helping Liverpool. Can I just bring it all back to he's the reason why we don't have at least one more Premier League title to our name, considering he's the one that did not give the handball against Rodri when they were playing Everton while we were in a title race. 90th minute, ball literally comes off of his forearm, and he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do it 90th minute. Nothing. And Liverpool ended up losing by 1 point. They would have ended up winning by 2. So I have no, and I mean that's not even the first one. You go to Liverpool Spurs. This guy's a history. He was the referee when Hatzidakis elbowed Robertson in the chin. This guy's history with Liverpool is historically bad. Like it's to the point where you have articles written on this guy and what he does. In retrospect, what this club has done. So I don't really necessarily think that out of all the referees, Paul Tierney is definitely one that is not in our favor. He's historically against Liverpool. But I do think that you look at the game in general, not even this call, but Liverpool did not have it. They didn't have it. I thought the starting lineup was kind of weak. I thought Cody Gakpo that might have been his worst match as a Liverpool player. Didn't think he was influential at all. I thought the moment he came out of the game and Darwin Nunez was in the game that they were finally somewhat decent. Virgil van Dijk was fantastic again. I keep saying it. The guy is playing at a level that is Player of the Year worthy, but I think because he's a defender, he's not going to get the plaudits of a forward scoring 20, 30 goals and a midfielder who's probably costed a shit ton more than what he did. So I do think he's a little bit underrated at this point. But the squad, I mean, you look at this squad, it is thin. It is thin. I was just reading something yesterday. If you look at the main 11 starters from the first match of the year for both Arsenal and Liverpool, Arsenal's have missed a combined 25 Premier League games, and that's their total 11. Liverpool's going into that game with 69 Premier League games. That's unheard of. And Manchester City is just over that mark too. That's unheard of. The fact that they're in first place, they have no reason to be in first place right now. None. They should be fighting for fourth with the amount of injuries they've had. With the way they've played countless times this year. They've had moments when they're fully fit, they're flying. Look at what they did to Newcastle back on January 1st. They killed them. They absolutely killed them. And then you look at the way they are now and the way they were a little bit before that. Having leads and drawing teams. The draw with Luton Town that came in like the 95th minute. Like they should probably not be in this title race. But then you look at it a different way and you think if they can, scrap away wins like that, and if they do get a call here or there, if that Diaz goal does go through and count, if the handball by Odegaard in the box is actually given for some reason, I don't know why it wasn't still, we could be looking at them having a 10-point lead. So it's such a weird season for this club. Don't know how they're here. Don't understand it. But here we are with three teams, 2 points from each other, and basically we got a hell of a title race.
I agree. We do. There is a nice title race that's going on. Each team is separated by 1 point from each other between Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal. I'm looking at this GIF here that where Yates flies in. I do agree that it was probably a foul on somebody. And it was probably overlooked because of the other foul that had happened in that box, where I need to actually roll back the GIF here in a second because you can't really roll back GIFs. I can't tell who the hell hugs. Who's number 2? Is it 2? Somebody bear hugs. I want to make this point too. That's probably a pen. If you look at that GIF, there's the player right in the beginning who bear hugs, brings down one of the Forest players. But not 10 minutes before that, I think that happens to a Liverpool player as well. Same thing happened.
Yeah.
Oh, it was one of the kids that got subbed on. He ends up also being bundled in the box off of a corner. No call. And I think that's okay if the way that happened where both players didn't receive a pen, even though it probably was a foul in each of the respective ways. And I'm totally okay with that happening. Like, look, if you're gonna make one call on one end, you better make it on the other end. And that's what Tierney did in this particular incident. But to really wrap up. Yeah, you see what I'm saying. To really wrap up this particular.
I think definitely it's a little bit softer than the. I think it's actually softer than the Jaden Dan's one, but
I think
yeah,
both
that
of
is. I
them
mean,
are
that is
respectful fouls.
That's anywhere else in the field. It's called. It's called. So
Most likely,
you know,
and I agree, and I'm okay that.
Situation.
And I'm okay with both of those not being called because he didn't call the other one on the other side. So there's.
And I wouldn't have called the Jaden Dan one either. I don't. He's not getting the ball. You know, he's never getting that.
That's exactly what my first thought was. I was like, there is no way he is going to take it. Yeah, there's no way he's going to get to that ball, so he shouldn't be a part of that play. You know, unless he like got, you know, Bruce Lee cross kicked into the chest, then yeah, okay, we're gonna run that one back and that's a pen. But you know, if you're not directly involved with the
crazy thing is, you
play,
know,
then you know,
you mentioned it. Actually, we had a game. I think it was City. I think it was a derby. I think it was City and United, and there was a foul on Holland that was not even remotely close to where the ball was, and I believe they gave a pen. But again, it goes back to who's the referee, and are they going to consistently call this? Because I mean, you look at it throughout the season, both of those you could say have been called, and both of those you can say have been overlooked. So that's the thing. We all just want consistency. I don't think we're ever going to get it.
No.
Unless we have some kind of independent panel that can, you know, I guess punish in some way. I don't really know. I don't really know how they fix it.
Well, at the end of the day, everybody's a human and everybody interprets something different. You interpret something different. I interpret something different. Everybody's going to interpret what a foul is different. I mean, technically, you can't interpret offsides differently. It's literally you draw lines and you figure it out. But, you know, fouls are perceived differently.
Well, not all the time, Aaron. Not all the time. Those lines don't work, apparently.
I know. It's just it. It all depends on who's working the computer that day and who knows how to use CAD and draw lines. But I think this match obviously favors Liverpool because they're on top of the table. And, you know, at the end of the day, it still makes for entertaining top flight match, and it makes still for entertaining relegation battle at the bottom. And for fans, for neutral fans anyway, it's a nice little change of pace to have three teams at the top battling. So, as you alluded to, 5 minutes.
I've got one more thing I just wanted to add to that.
Shoot.
I got one more. Just it couldn't have happened to a better group of fans, the Nottingham Forest fans. Because I just want to say this because it happens every single time Liverpool go there. Is the bullshit that the Nottingham Forest fans do. Within the first 10 minutes, they're singing about poverty in Liverpool. When, oddly enough, guess which city has the worst poverty rate? Be Nottingham. They're singing about Hillsborough. They're singing about stupid shit that doesn't apply to the actual football being played on the pitch. And simply put, they need to just fucking stop. They do it every time. And they are the most vile fan base when it comes to their fan TVs promoting them singing songs about poverty and about Hillsborough. That's disgusting. So good riddance. I hope you get relegated. Now, you know what? I hope it comes at the end of the season after you're already safe, Nottingham Forest fans. I hope it happens 4 days after the season when your next trial is on the repeal. Because I think I hope that's when you find out you get relegated. You think you're safe. Boom, you're relegated. Because that's disgusting. And that doesn't belong in the Premier League. Doesn't belong in soccer at all. Or football or whatever the frick you want to call it.
Soccer does.
But that's disgusting. And that's good riddance. Good riddance. We'll see in 5 years when some other, when the Greek guy sells it to, some Indonesian country or somewhere, somewhere you never heard of before. So
A
good riddance,
conglomerate,
Nottingham Forest.
probably. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, after that much entertaining Nottingham Forest rant, we'll move on to the also somewhat entertaining and not a slaughter Manchester derby. Rhett and I thought we had a little preview for it, and it was Man City slaughters. Yeah, okay, moving on. I mean, there's a little bit more discussion than that because it is a long history between these two clubs, and well, one club is currently better than the other one for the last decade. It at least showed that Man United had a little bit of fight in this match. They did hold the lead, and I'm by a little bit of fight, I mean they kept City off the scoreboard till the second half, where to be honest, they probably City should have been on the scoreboard in the first half. I don't know how Haaland missed that sitter. I mean, I do because it popped. It just the trajectories and stuff, angles. It was crazy how he missed it
Anything
from
Darwin
4
Nunez has
yards
ever
out,
missed, I
though.
gotta say.
It was insane. But if we look at the numbers for this particular match, if you look at the momentum, I have it up on my computer, and if you look it up on FOTMob will give momentum for the play throughout the match. It is all but one little speck of red, blue. It is all blue. And even the goal that Rashford scored, still blue. It's crazy. And you look at the stats here. The stats for possession are 73% to
Can I
City.
tell you my favorite stat?
Go for it.
The best stat was the fact that City had more shots than possession that Manchester United had. I thought that was fantastic. I'd never seen a stat like that before that from a game of this caliber. So that was incredible.
So it's 27% possession for United, and City had 27 shots. And that just shows you where each club are currently and how much progress needs to be had for United before they even think about reaching what City's caliber is at right now. And a lot of quotes are going around where it's somebody interviewed Ferguson a long time ago and asked him if City would ever be a competent club. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing that part, and he said, not in my lifetime. Well, you're wrong. And City are quite the powerhouse club, obviously, as we've seen in the last since he's retired, pretty much. Their XG was at 3.3, they as in City, to United's 0.25. United had really nothing going for them other than just a counterattack every now and then. There's obviously no real possession, it was all toothless. No bite, no willingness to want to go after players or press the player who has the ball there's just no teamwork. It was incredible to watch. And one of the commentators was even like, they were trying to reference when Villa had dominated City at Villa Park and saying how the formation that United are trying to attempt and mirror was what Villa had did to City, and it was nothing like the same of what Villa did. There was they were so slackish on pressing and trying to win the ball back from City that it was embarrassing to kind of watch. Other than the goal that Rashford had, which was very beautiful, to be honest, and he has a couple of those a year. This United team's like, I know where they sit on the table, guys. I understand, and it's just, how do you go from 3 weeks of looking gorgeous and then just laying ducks the last 2 weeks after that. And I don't understand where Ten Hag has this idea to then flip flop Garnacho and Rashford, because Garnacho was playing great on the right, and then they flipped them back to the left for some reason. And I'm like, what are you doing? It was working so well for you before. And I understand Hoyland's out. Okay. I understand that he really presses the lines, but is really one player going to make a difference in this match? Probably not. I want to be honest. It was all one-way traffic, and Man City had their way with United, and United just was hoping that it wouldn't be a 6-0 defeat. And luckily for them, they didn't lose 6-0, but it sure could have been. There was quite a few quality goals or shots that were put on goal. I don't know. Is there anything United can do other than potentially sack Ten Hag? Is really Ten Hag the guy that should be there still?
Well, I mean, if you want to go off his historic record and how Ten Hag has been doing, let's just go back a year. Let's go back in let's go back in the time machine real quick and go back a year to this day that we're recording this, March 5th. Just so happened to be the day that he was, became referred to as Seven Hag, because yeah, all right. They gave up 7 goals to Liverpool on this day last year. So, historically speaking, he is an awful, awful coach. And I've seen a lot of people say it, before he actually took the job, that the guy's tactics are not going to translate, and they're never going to translate. It doesn't add up to what he did in the Netherlands is not anything compared to what the Premier League is. And you look at his record against English teams when he was with the Netherlands, when he was with Ajax. They weren't very good. They were not very good at all. In fact, he got dominated in most of those games, whether it be against Spurs or Liverpool, or I think he might have even played Manchester United once. He was not very good. His tactics never work. He can't adjust. He is historically awful at adjusting. If something doesn't work, he doesn't know how to fix it. It's basically one way, and that one way is even construed because we can't even decide what exactly his tactics are. I wanted to say that he's finally, over the last couple of weeks been really developing the way he's setting his team up. I mean, he's got a lot more younger kids there now. He has no tactics. He doesn't know how to set up. He doesn't have a team that can sit back and counter. He just doesn't, because Anthony doesn't provide you worth shit. Anthony is, he's quite possibly the worst signing in Premier League history. And I think there's some distance between him and whoever the next guy is, whether it's even his ex-teammate Jadon Sancho. So there's quite a bit going on there, and the fact that that's who your coach went out of his way to sign, and now after he's been crap, he's your only option off the bench because you can't spend money. How awful is that? That is some of the worst man management I've seen in quite some time. But going back to his tactics, there's nothing that tells you that anything he does is going to work. Long term, short term, it's basically hit or miss. Is it going to work against the team he's playing today? That's what his tactics are. It's the same thing, which basically they want to play possession. He says he wants to play out from the back. Good luck with that. They're just not. He doesn't have the players that can do that. He hasn't signed players that can do that. His goalkeeper, for all intents and purposes, might as well be a ghost because he had one good game probably all season. He's not very good. Defensively, shambles. You got the smallest center back in the Prem. He's not. When he's healthy, he's not very good. When he's, actually there. So everything Ten Hag touches turns to shit since he's come to United, and it hasn't been that good when he was at Ajax either. Yes, they're going to win league titles there because the league is fairly weak. a lot of those teams were basically spent catching up. And by the time he left, they had just caught up. So that's the thing. Like he's not that good a coach, simply put. Is he going to make it through to next season? Absolutely not. If they have any brains in that organization, absolutely not. Who's going to replace him? No clue. There's not a single good option out there that I think would be smart enough to choose Manchester United. I mean, there's a better chance Ale comes back and they get somebody that can transition this team back to what they were. That's being honest. So good luck to them because they're going to need it.
So I will say that I think I agree with you on the fact that he doesn't know how to. He's not a good tactician because if he's obviously, I understand taking tactics from a thing that had happened successfully against a club that you're currently playing and then try to translate it to your team. That's okay. But you also have to understand that you don't have those players to make that happen either. This club is old. And on top of them being old, they don't have the players go to United for vanity purposes at this point. They go because they know they will be on camera. Just much like exactly money purposes. They know that they're going to get overpaid for their wages, and they know that they're going to be on TV. Those are the two biggest reasons why they keep signing players like they do, because they know they can bring them in. And I know you said that, you'd be crazy to go to United, but imagine you being that manager that does, let's say, fix United. Then you're going to be heralded as a god. That's why you go to United. Personally, I wouldn't want to go to United, but also if you fix the holes and fix the ship, you're going to be Ferguson-esque. And that's what everybody's managerial wise is hoping for when they go there. Same way with Chelsea. A little less with Chelsea, actually, because they just have such a high turnover in managers. But maybe Ten Hag needs the right players. And I know that he went and handpicked Anthony, and I'm sure he's really kicking himself for that one as well. But there's got to be something that he can do to cut those players that he currently has at age, drop down at his age situation, and bring in some youth and bring in players who actually fit his style. And I know he's been there for he's been pushing 2 years at this point, but at some point you also got to think of management and be like, is it really working? We just gave him all these players. Are they really working? And why isn't he working as well? So it's a double-edged sword. Whether you want to stick with him and cut these players, not cut, I mean like transfer them out to get in players. And I know you're not going to get the wages the transfer value that you had brought them in for, but you got to lose their wage bills as well and bring in players who fit that style that he is trying to, whatever style he's trying to put forward. So, I don't know.
Question for you: How much would you pay if you were a club looking to sign Anthony? How much would you pay? Or actually, how much would you take if you're Manchester United? You paid 86 million pounds. What would you take for him?
I'll answer your first question because that one I like more than the other one. And I still will answer your second one too. If I was to get Anthony, it would have to be 15 to 20 million. If 15 going to 20 million on bonuses. But whoever is, if I'm the buyer, I want United to fit most of his wage bill. Do you know what I mean? So United has to.
you're getting loaned out. I mean, if he gets transferred out, his wage bill is going to be, or his wages are going to go down. He's not that good. He's quite possibly ruined himself. I think as far as getting top wages as the guys that he wants to think he compares himself to, the other wingers out there. So I think, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't take more than 10 million, and that's with bonuses. I don't think he's worth that. I mean, there's wingers out there that have scored less goals that I think are more influential in games than he is. I have not seen him once dribble a ball towards goal when receiving the ball on his own half. Dribble it towards goal. He dribbles to the corner, to the sideline. He's got one leg, He's got one leg. It's his left leg. If he actually could have developed his right leg, he might have actually been a half decent player. Probably would have got maybe somewhere close to 30, 35 million for him on a resale. He has one move. It's basically go to the right, cut back to the left. That's his entire move. That's his entire skill set in one sentence.
Yep.
Go to your right, cut back to your left. That's his skill set. That's all he has. He can't do anything else. And when you look at him when he was at Ajax, it was pretty much that, but he would try to do more of the razzle-dazzle stuff, even more so than what he's doing at United. He would basically try to embarrass people. And that doesn't cut it when you're actually trying to win games. And I don't understand how anyone who analyzes players and their abilities looks at him and goes, "This guy, you know what? Let's pay 86 million pounds. He's worth it." He may not be worth a tenth of that when you really look at what his skill set is. And that's just and I remember when he was at Ajax, and I watched a few, more than a few of Ajax's games back in the day. He was not as good as, I mean, the numbers were obviously a little bit better because you're playing in the league in Netherlands. You're not playing against the best like you are in the Premier League. The guy was just not good. He was not good. And you look at a lot of those Ajax guys that came out of there at that time. How many of them have really hit it off? I mean, you look at Barcelona. Look at Frankie de Jong. I mean, he's up and down. Sometimes in the team, sometimes out of the team. You look at Matthijs de Ligt. De Ligt, I mean, he's already on a second team since he left Ajax. So there's a lot of guys that Onana. Look at Onana. I mean, look at a lot of these guys that left the Ten Hag Ajax. They are not. Steven Bergwijn, another one, came to the Premier League. Kind of, had a nice couple goals, laid on, but otherwise shit the bed. A lot of these guys that come from there that have been built up are built up to do one thing, and that's play in that league and that caliber of football. Their advancement depends on where they go after that. You can't really go anywhere if you're going stagnant if you're Anthony. Anthony's pretty much stagnant. He's gone from Ten Hag to Ten Hag. You're not going to grow your game. The guy's limiting what he does with his attackers. I haven't seen a single player go to United and get better. Have you seen anybody go to United and get better under Erik Ten Hag?
Or just go to United in general and get better? The answer is no.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, there's every now and then there's some, but I mean, every single one of the players he's signed has either gotten there and stayed the same or gotten there and gotten worse. Casemiro gotten worse. Varane pretty much stayed the same. You could say gotten worse. Anthony, worst signing in history. Onana, gotten worse. I mean, it doesn't get. Look at Rashford. He was actually already there. Got worse. He's gotten worse under Ten Hag. Like, I don't understand what the guy's tactics really are. I don't know what he's trying to do. I think he's probably one of the bottom 4 or 5 worst coaches in the Prem right now, and yet he's got a job at a top 6 club. So I just find it baffling. But what do you say we move on to we switch gears and go to the game of the week coming up here?
I would think it's the second game of the week personally, but that's just me personally. I have another stake in this, a different stake in another match with a lot more implication in that one. But this one does hold a lot of ramifications as well for a lot of fans. Liverpool versus Man City. This is a 1 versus 2 title fight right here. I got to say, this, I don't want to say this is all for the marbles, but man, it's going to be weighed like that because even though there's still 11 matches left, 10 matches left to play, and 30 points up for grab, one slip, and it happened to Arsenal last year. One slip, and it goes away. It goes away fast because, like City do, they do in the second half. Like every year, they just flip a switch and go. I have a feeling that I need to know if this match is it is at. You want to tell me where it's at because I don't remember, to be honest. Sorry.
It's in Liverpool.
Okay, so they'll have
It's at Anfield.
The Liverpool handicap. I could see this one actually ending up as a draw. I know City have obviously quality players. Liverpool also have quality players. Both play in tournaments in Champions League and Europa this week as it starts kicking up again. So there's going to be tired legs as well as that goes. I honestly see I could see a 2-2 draw out of this. Honestly, I don't know what is your feelings with this match coming up?
I mean, I'm not very confident. I'd love to say that this is a game where Liverpool go into. I think if Liverpool's got somewhat of a full squad, or at least 2 more guys that are out injured for a while back, I think they win this game. No Allison, no Trent, no Jota, no Gravenberch, no Jones. Possibly there's been rumors that Kelleher may be injured and that Adrian could end up with the start. If that's the case, Liverpool probably lose 3 or 4-0.
I would agree
if Adrian starts. If Kelleher starts, there's a game to be played. My fear is you look at the way City play against teams that are more prone to attack. They usually play very well. It's when they're thrown off by teams that normally sit back, where they, you look at the Palaces of the world and the Aston Villas. It's teams like that where they're going in thinking that team's going to end up sitting back, that they end up struggling because that team comes out and attacks. Liverpool, they know what they're getting. They know that what they've been getting for the last, 7-8 years, basically. At this point, I am kind of worried with Liverpool. I do think at some point the injuries are going to have to get to them. Again, they've had, out of the top 3 clubs in the Premier League right now, they've had the most injuries, and it's by quite some distance. And they've already got a trophy under their belt, so I am worried about that. I think it does come back at some point. Mo Salah, we're hoping, he was supposed to be training today, didn't happen. There's a game on Thursday in Prague that they have to travel to. I would consider, if I was Liverpool, maybe not throwing out the strongest side in that match, and resting my players, resting Darwin, resting McAllister, maybe Endo, maybe Kanate as well. Obviously Salah if you can, and not throw those guys out there because they're gonna Sparta Prague have to come back to Anfield. That's going to be a whole different animal for them. They're not going to be able to not score 3 goals, I think, there at any point, at Liverpool for that matter. So as long as they keep it somewhat close in that first leg, they're going to be fine. I have no doubt about that. But City do worry me. They have yet to win since Pep has been there at Anfield. But I think all the stars have kind of aligned for him. He just got De Bruyne back. De Bruyne is playing exceptionally well. Phil Foden is on another level right now, what he's ever played at. Erling Haaland is back. He just got it back in the goals. You look at his last 2 games. The guy's got 6 goals in his last 2 games. That's unreal. Like,
okay, well, 4 of them also came from
I think
really
the only
bad
weakness
squad.
I would say would probably be 5.
Sorry, 5.
5 of them. 5 of them in one match. But like I just it's not something that I'm looking forward to.
That's fair.
I do think Van Dijk and Kelleher and Konate being on their game is going to be quintessential to Liverpool having any chance here. Who starts at the fullback positions, I think, is going to be huge. Is it going to be Robertson on the left? Is it going to be Bradley or Gomez on the right? That's going to be a big matchup because one of those guys has to be on Phil Foden, and the other one most likely will have to help out with Kevin De Bruyne. So who's it going to be there? Do you want to throw the more inexperienced guy out there who's been playing at a very high level, or do you throw out someone there who's obviously more defensive minded than Joe Gomez, who when at times when you want to have possession, you can switch it to a little bit of a back three. It's kind of, in my opinion, I think it's going to end up being Gomez with Robertson on the left. And then it all comes down to where games of this caliber are won and lost over the last couple of years is the midfield. Endo, I think, has been fantastic. I was so against signing him. I was so wrong. I didn't see what he brought the first month or 2 of the season. He is probably the most quintessential midfielder right now for Liverpool, the most important guy. As much as I want to say McAllister may be the signing of the season for them, what Endo does and what Endo brings is absolutely unmatched. He is as big as what Fabinho was in his first 3-4 years at the club. He has been that good. And his stats show it. McAllister. Can McAllister do what he's done over the last month and a half? If so, Liverpool have a damn good chance of at least getting, some sort of lead, if not getting a good draw out of this game. And then the other one is it going to be Szoboszlai in the midfield? Is he healthy enough to go? Can he go maybe not a full 90 because you do have Elliott coming off the bench. You do have guys like Bobby Clark coming off the bench, James McConnell, all these guys that are very young, but at the same time, gaining that experience in big games. But I do think it's going to end up being those 3 in the midfield, which brings it now to the forwards. Is it going to be Nunez? Is it going to be Salah? Is he going to be healthy to go? Diaz is probably going to end up starting. If that's the team that Liverpool put out there, they've got a chance. That being said, I don't think we've had more of a full squad for City this entire season than what they have right now. And that's the scary part. I do think City end up probably nabbing this one. As much as I'm hoping not. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'd love to be wrong. But this is one of those matches where I think everything, if Anfield can come alive the way they normally have, then Liverpool have a shot. But that's what it comes down to: Liverpool being as healthy as possible, having the midfield that can go a full 90, defensively being smart about things, considering we have a backup goalkeeper, and then Anfield needs to come alive. Those things happen, Liverpool have a shot. If they don't, it depends on what lineup that City throw out there. But if it is Foden, Haaland, De Bruyne, Silva, that's where I start to worry, because they will score. They will score. They will score at least one. Most likely more than that, but they're at least going to get a goal out of this. So you got to be smart on this for Liverpool. So Klopp's got his. This is arguably, you could say, one of the top 5 biggest games of Klopp's career, right here.
I would say that's probably true as well, just because of the magnitude and the current dramatics of him leaving at the end of the season, so there is definitely more weight that's involved with this match than any other match that he has faced with against City at home. I don't think there's going to be a doubt that Anfield will be electric until that probably second goal goes in and really kind of tames uh, the noise, the fan base there at that moment. That being said, I still think a 2-2 draw isn't unreasonable and probably would be a win in this scenario for Liverpool, having the home park factor. And I also think that these kids that do go out there have something to prove for the next manager, and that's why we're seeing them play so well, is because your job's up for next year. And you could take away somebody's position if you keep playing as well as you have been, and that's why we're seeing such a what's the word I want to use, advancement and uptick in performances from the youngsters to prove that their quality, and then they can stay in and potentially start in some situations like these. uh, I can understand the anxiety that Liverpool fans definitely feel because City are such a formidable force, and they have gotten back. City have gotten back a number of players, and the missing players Liverpool are currently without. Uh, if Kelleher is out, then it's a City no doubt win. It's just at that point how many, because Adrian against
It
Villa
does.
3-4 years ago threw up a 7 spot for that particular match, even though it was away. Liverpool was away. It's going to be an interesting match, and everybody should really tune in for it. And if you are looking to go out to catch this match, whether you're a Liverpool fan, a Man City fan, a neutral, go to Wolf's Beer Garden, any of them. We particular power around um, the Albany one on Broadway. Uh, Pop in, say hi to Woodsy, myself, or if whoever's about there. If you haven't gathered, I'm wrapping this up. I'm assuming everyone's gathered this at this point. So make sure you go out and say hi to us and them. Well, you mean you don't have to say hi to us, but at least say hi to Carl and all the bartenders. They're great there at the Albany one. I haven't been to the Schenectady one, so but I'm sure they're just all the same pleasant people. So um, catch football, catch soccer, catch any sport there. They're fantastic people. If you are a fan of Liverpool, make sure you hit up Woodsy. He's got his Liverpool army there. If you're a fan of Arsenal, has his Arsenal Gooners. And if you're a fan of Man City, there is a Man City group there. I'm not sure who runs it. What is his name? I'm sorry, I forgot his name.
Mark.
Mark, right. So hit up Mark if you are interested in joining the City group there. That wraps up today's show. We ran a little bit long, but that's okay. We had a lot to talk about today. This has been another episode of Swinging at Shins. You can catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, or iPod. I don't know what they call that. Their service anyway. We're all over the place. Please.
Do they still have LimeWire? Is LimeWire still?
LimeWire is still giving cancer to all of your computers if you've used it at one point in time. And also, don't forget about FrostWire. Slightly better, still going to give you cancer. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up if you feel like it. If you're on YouTube, if you're on the other formats, please, 5 stars would be phenomenal. It goes a long way in building this podcast here. This has been another episode. Don't forget to tip your bartenders. Well, guys, that was an episode of Swinging at Shins. We appreciate you for coming out and listening to us. If you guys want to hear or see more, we have links in the description below. We hope to hear from you soon and hear more about what you have to say.